Hi everyone, this is BritSimon. I wanted to just give you some information about the DV 2024 issuances that we've seen in October. We have just recently got the data that shows the official numbers. Now, at this time of year, we don't have any SEAC data, but so we can only rely on the official published numbers, and those numbers take some time to get updated. So, it's taken a few weeks to get the October numbers, but we now have the issuances from each of the embassies and chargeability countries. So for the number of issuances per embassy so far this year in DV 2024, right? So it's kind of interesting data. So let me show you that. We take the data from our wonderful friend Xarthisius and his very useful website where he's got this data being hosted. Here's the monthly issuances. So he's taking this from official sources, official reports that are published, saying how many DV visas are issued in each embassy, right? So we've got some data here. We can look at other years, but I'm looking at fiscal year 24, that's DV 24. And as you can see, October is the only month that you can look at the moment, because obviously that's the beginning of the year, right? And so first of all, we can see the regional totals here. That's the first thing you can see. You just zoom in on this a little bit, make it a little bit bigger. So we can see 747 visas have already been issued in Africa, 153 in Asia, 845 in Europe. Amazing start for Europe, really. North Africa, 0. Don't really talk about North Africa much, but that's 0. Oceania, 29, and South America, 94. All right. So that's the numbers per region. And then if we want to see where those visas are being issued, we can see kind of a leadership table here, where Algeria are in the lead with 249 of the DV visas issued. By the way, there is some categorization here between DV1, DV2, and DV3. These appear to be DV1s, meaning the main selectees. It's actually not. It's any of the DV numbers. They used to separate these out in the report, and they no longer separate them out in the report. But Xarthisius has to sort of show this, against the DV numbers, because he's also representing other years where they were separated out. Okay, so these are main selectees and derivatives, whether they're spouses or children. So DV1s, DV2s, and DV3s. Okay, so 249 for Algeria. Russia 167, which would have been done mostly in Warsaw, I guess. So very impressive there. Kenya 163. Now I'm really pleased to see Kenya having 163. That seems like a really good start for Kenya. And then as we go down the list, we see some of the other other embassies. For example, Morocco is doing pretty well. It's no surprise to me that Algeria is top of the list. They did a fantastic job in DV 23 and DV 22, particularly in 23. So it's not at all surprising that they've issued 249 visas already in the first month. That's not a surprise at all. That's really good. And it just shows their commitment to getting their workload done. If all of the embassies would behave like Algeria, then we would have a lot of calm people, a lot of very calm and very happy people, and we would be able to get through the processing in good time. On the other hand, if all of the embassies behaved like Algeria, then definitely high case numbers would not have a chance, right? The only chance that high case numbers have got is if some of the embassies behave badly, which gives a better chance to the higher case numbers. So anyway, so this is kind of the data there. And I wanted to show you this data. And you can come and have a look at this. We can make this, let's make this a little bit different so we get more of those leaders on there. We can actually make it pretty big. Oh, that's too busy. Too many rows of data on there. Yeah. probably about where he was about right, I think, probably 30. But you could go in and you can see this data yourself. You can take a look at this data. Now, if you want to search for a particular country, let's say we want to look for Ghana, we can see that Ghana has issued 4, which is fairly predictably a slow start for Ghana. Now, that just confirms my worry and my suspicion that Ghana, for example, the Accra embassy is not going to do very well. And so it's beginning to tell us how those embassies are behaving, and particularly the badly performing embassies. So you should start thinking about this. Now, 1 month doesn't mean the whole shooting match, right? But it is still significant. And if we look at, let's look at some other countries. So Cairo, I see, is on there. So we'll look at Egypt. Egypt has 39, so it's issued 39. I'd say that's low. So to me, that suggests that the Cairo embassy is not issuing as many visas as they should do. They have the same amount of workload as Algeria. So why are they not issuing the same number of visas, right? You can see my point. Let's think of another one. Who else could we be looking at? Well, let's check my own home country, London. Let's check out, not London, United Kingdom. It's not what's it under? Great Britain. Oh, of course, there's none chargeable to there's none chargeable to UK, because until DV 25 they're not going to be in there. So these are visas issued per country. By the way, if an Egyptian is interviewing in London, then that would go down on the Egypt number here, because it's an Egyptian. This is about country chargeability. So that's how it's separated out there, right? So kind of interesting data. By all means, come and have a look at it yourself. You can have a look for your own country and see how they're behaving. Don't freak out with some of the smaller embassies. So, for example, if you see Angola has issued only 2 visas and you're in Angola, you could say, oh, crikey, Algeria's got 249 and we've only issued 2. That's a disaster. But then you'd have to say, well, hang on, how many do we expect Angola to have got right over the year? There's just not that many selectees. There's not as many Angolans selected as there are Algerians. So there's no reason to freak out. You've got to use some common sense to say, okay, is this what I would expect to have happened? And for that, you can look at the data and say, what do you think should have happened? By the way, if you want to see, let's see, visa bulletin. If you want to see the number of selectees per country, I suggest you come here, go to the visa bulletin of 23, the September visa bulletin, and let's just look up, for example, where it has all the countries there. And so, look, this is exactly what I was just saying. Algeria has 5,142 selectees. Angola has 582, right? So let's assume that the Angolan selectees are spread over the full range of 122,000, right? Then there would be only a small number of those people, of those 582. Only a small number would have even become current, and they weren't current in October. And so, probably 10%, 50 people of those 50 people that could possibly have had an interview, 2 have been issued. So it's not terrible. On the other hand, Algeria have had 250 people issued from probably quite a small pool. So that's actually pretty good. That's just the way you need to look at it. Okay, so have a look at these countries to see, okay, Cameroon, what should they have had? Let's have a look at Yaoundé. Let's have a look at Cameroon on here. Let's have a look at that. Okay, so 61. Now, Cameroon was not limited, right? Let's just have a quick look at that. So Cameroon was not limited in October. So it's not in this section. So in October, they would have had 10,000, or let's say 1/12 of their population could have gone current. So that's 1/12 of the 3,500. What do we say it was? Cameroon, 3,500 or so. So just sort of working this through with you. Yeah, 3,485. So 1/12 of that would be just under 300. So out of just under 300 people that could have been available for their interview, if their DS-260 was processed and if their number was current, right? Less than 300 people. So of those, 61 people actually got issued. So that's not bad. I would say that means that we probably don't need to be worried about Cameroon, as much as we would be worried about Ghana, for example. Does that make sense? I'm hoping that makes sense to you. Okay, so have a look at this data. It's on Xarthisius' website, brilliant website. We should all be supporting Xarthisius in what he's doing. He's doing that for absolutely no money at all. He's not earning any income from this. He's just doing it because he was a DV lottery winner and he enjoys working with the numbers and the technology, and so he's using his skills for our benefit. So thank you once again to Xarthisius, incredible guy. And go and have a look at your country, see how your country is doing, consider it in terms of how many people actually went current in October. So how many could they have done? How many interviews and how many visas were issued? And try and figure out whether, at least for October, your embassy was behaving properly. And then I would suggest you do the same thing again towards the end of the year when we're looking at November data. And then in January, we'll have the full data right up to date. We'll have, October, November, December. We'll have all three of those months pretty quickly after we have the November data. We'll have all of that data right up to date from the SEAC system through Xarthisius' website here. Okay. By the way, I do want to add, there is a difference here in the data between the people of a country, chargeable to a country, being issued visas, and the embassy's work in issuing visas. So, for example, if we take the example of Kenya, we saw that there were 163 Kenyans, or people chargeable to Kenya, that have been issued. But if we look at the data for the embassy of Nairobi, the data looks a little bit different. I want to show that. I think it'll be useful if I can show that for you. So you would come to this link, which is where you can see the data, and there are two choices for the data. You can see there's previous months. You can get the issuances by foreign state chargeability and place of birth and visa class, which is what Xarthisius is presenting. Or you can say, I want to see the issuances by post and visa class. Now, this data is, not to do with people chargeable to a given country, but instead, like how many were actually at that embassy. So, for example, Accra Embassy here, you can see all of the work they're doing, where they're issuing visas and where they're not, and you can see there. Is that true? Like, okay, so the very few visas that were issued for DV Lottery to Ghanaians were not even from Accra. That's what that means, which is pathetic. I mean, Accra, honestly, please don't Accra be another dopey embassy for another year. That would just be too depressing. But if we go down to Nairobi for some slightly better news, so Nairobi DV 199. So 163 of the 199 were Kenyans, and the remainder, the other 36, were non-Kenyans interviewed at the Nairobi embassy. Does that make sense? And in fact, there could have also been Kenyans interviewed elsewhere that were counted in the 163. So it could even be even more that were non-Kenyans interviewed at the Nairobi embassy. Either way you look at it, for Nairobi in particular, people have been worried about Nairobi, and quite rightly so. And so it's good to see Nairobi doing better here. Let me just look back at Algeria, because that was the other one we discussed earlier. Algeria's embassy, yeah, 250 DV and 249 reported. So largely that means that most Algerians interview at Algeria, I would imagine, and there might be a little bit of mix and match between these two numbers, the 249 and the 250, but you can see most of the effort is being done by the Algeria embassy for Algerians, right? So if you want to see that extra slice of data, come here and look at your embassy as well. In addition to understanding how many selectees there are for your country, you should look at how many selectees have been interviewed by your embassy, and then finally, how many of your countrymen have been issued with any embassy in mind, okay? So look at all of that data. I hope that makes sense. I hope that all makes sense to you. I'm sure I'm going to get questions about that. If you want to ask me a question, please do feel free to ask the question on the YouTube channel in the comment section below. But far better than that, ask me a question on BritSimonSays.com, and I'll make sure I answer all the questions on BritSimonSays.com. Okay, please do subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and leave a comment. Let me know how you think about it. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.